Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Sitting down here by the river, and it's kind of eerie out because we've got some really big storms that are not far at all. So I figured I'd run down here, do a quick video for you. Hopefully I can get it in. I'm kind of not sure if I'm going to do it, but it's got really quiet and the bugs are starting to chirp. The wind has completely gone flat, so I better get to this quick. So what I want to talk about today is another retrieves video. You know, one of the first videos I did way back when was on different jerkbait retrieves. A jerkbait is one of the best all-around fish catching baits that we have. You know, really what we've found quite a bit with the new forward-facing sonars that have come out is that the jerkbaits kind of had a resurgence as a year-round bait, not just a spring and fall bait, a cold water bait, but people are using it very effectively to catch fish all year round, and it catches really big fish. So we don't want to overlook the jerkbait, but there are some things about the retrieves and the different cadences that you use with a jerkbait that can help trigger fish. And that's what I want to go over today, are some of my favorite retrieves or cadences just to get fish to react. You know, there's different things that you can do that I think will help improve the number of bites, as well as, you know, just overall make it more enjoyable to fish, because a jerkbait is one of those baits that can be something that by the end of the day you feel pretty exhausted. You know, if you've got a tennis elbow or something along those lines, a jerkbait is a bait that can be very frustrating to throw, especially if you're not catching fish, because it can be kind of a wearing deal on your arms. But that's also one of the things I love about it. You know, being able to work for the fish isn't necessarily a bad thing either. And a jerkbait is a great way to go about it. So I want to show you some ways to work like the Berkley Stunna, or some of your other favorite baits like the Megabass Vision 110, or if you're a Rapala guy, the Shadow Rap. All great jerkbaits, ones that I use on a regular basis. And it really doesn't matter which one I'm throwing, because I'll use the same cadence. Now, the one thing before I get into this that I want to point out with jerkbaits is that one cadence from one day to the next may not be the same. It may change throughout the course of the day too. So no matter what you're doing, or when you're fishing a jerkbait, or what jerkbait you're fishing, I highly recommend mixing up the retrieve style throughout the day, because you may find that a cadence that was working in the morning may not be working 2 hours later once the sun has gotten up high. So you want to change around the different cadences and just figure out what works best for you. But that's what I want to go over today, is give you some of those. And before I do share that with you, I do want to remind you guys that if you're looking for some help on your local lakes or lakes in your area, check out the lake breakdowns that I do for Fish the Moment. I mark up 40 different waypoints on the lake based on the season and give you a bunch of different strategies and patterns to go out that you can hopefully replicate from the spots I provide to other spots throughout the lake. It's a great way to break down lakes quick. It's basically me doing my tournament practice before I get to the lake to see, to show you how I break down lakes and what I'm looking for. So check those out. Let's go down to the water before we get hit by some rain. Hopefully I get this in. If not, the GoPro is waterproof, so I'll do it for you in the rain. All right, well, we've got here our Berkley Stunna, one of my favorite jerkbaits that I throw. I do want to point out a couple of things before I get started, guys, that, you know I get a lot of feedback, negative feedback, based on the titles that I use, where I say like 90% of anglers are using a bait incorrectly or don't know how to use a bait. And really, guys, that's not supposed to be offensive to any of you. What it is more of a title for a series at this point, and it gets a lot of views, and I feel like retrieves are more important than bait choices and other things you can do regarding fishing. So it's something that goes often overlooked. So I'm going to continue to use that title for this series of different bait retrieves, just to make sure everybody's on the same page and they know when they see it, they can expect that certain type of video. All right, so talking about the jerkbait. Now, a couple of things, guys. I do use spinning gear with my jerkbaits. I generally will throw it on 6 to 10 pound test, and I use a shorter rod. This is a 6.5 foot medium, like custom build that I do. Very parabolic. My whole approach on jerkbaits is, when a fish bites it, I'm using a bait with laser sharp hooks. Generally speaking, I'm in open water. Therefore, all I need to do is get the hook in the fish, apply a little pressure, and play the fish out, and I don't have anything to worry about. But I like throwing on spinning gear because I feel like I get better action, and I like throwing 6, 8, and 10 pound tests, and I feel like I get better diving depths out of my jerkbait. So that's why I do that. If anyone is asking, that's why. So the first retrieve, this is my standard retrieve that I go with. This is one that I will always start off with, and it's just like 2 or 3 downward jerks, pause, downward jerks, pause, downward jerks, pause. I usually do 3 in a row. I give it a decent pause, but not a huge pause. But then, before I keep going downward, I always mix in a couple of upward jerks as well. So when I'll throw it out, I'll get a couple of jerks down, like I said. And when I'm doing that, I'm actually reeling line in. I'm not really moving my wrist, but I am going around picking up line. So when I get that bait down there, I pause it. Once or twice during the retrieve, I give like 1 quick upward snap and then go 2 or 3 down. And I've said that before on the show that I was made a believer on that during an FLW tour event on Beaver Lake when Matt Airy was fishing the same area I was, and he was getting a good number more bites than I was using the exact same bait and color. And after talking with him, he said it was all because, he would jerk it down to a depth, and then during the retrieve, he'd give 1 quick pause or jerk up and then down. So I always, once or twice on a retrieve, give 1 snap up. And what that does is, the bait the whole time is hunting downward. When you give the jerk up, it'll have an upward jerk or an upward movement to it, which is different than what you would see normally from a jerkbait if you're holding the rod tip down, jerking down with it. So that's something I want to point out, but that's the first most standard retrieve that I do. If I am fishing very cold water, and by very cold, I'm talking, that mid 40-degree range or lower, I like to sweep the bait. So I'll jerk it down to a depth. And once I get down there, it's more of just a pull and pause. I'm not creating any sort of crazy jerk. I'll just do a long, probably a 6-foot sweep, and then I'll let it sit. And sometimes I'll let it sit for 30 seconds. It really just depends on how long it's taking me to get bites, but it's just a pull. I'm not doing a standard jerking motion. I'm just giving it the pull and letting it just slowly swim through the water and pause. And my theory on that is the fish during super cold water, you get shad die-offs and die-offs of different species of fish, and they're moving slower. They're not necessarily jerking up. A lot of times a dead fish is just kind of doing this in the water, and that makes them an easy target. So that's the second way that I really like to retrieve one, is just a sweeping motion after I get it down to the water level, or down to, the level that I think it's cruising at. Just a strong 6-foot sweep, nothing fast, nothing slow, just enough to feel the vibration in the bait, and then you pause it, give it a long pause. And the last main way I like to fish it is super erratic. Now, this is something you'll see a lot of guys doing with forward-facing sonar. This is more of just crazy, erratic, fast motion where it's straight down, pause, straight, pause, 1, 2, 3. You're just completely mixing it up. You might even go up with it. It's just complete, basically fast moving, bringing it back to the boat as quick as you can. This is more of a summer tactic. And again, forward facing, a lot of times you can watch them so you can see how they're reacting and see when they need to pause, or if they're not reacting to a pause, you can pick up the pace again. But even without forward facing, this is a true summer pattern where you get fish that are very active, they're chasing bait, they're moving fast. So if you've got schoolers, it's a great way to do it. If you're fishing smallmouth, a lot of times they don't want the bait sitting still. They want to crush it when they think it's getting away. So you're just jerking it, lots of pauses, lots of jerks, you're just completely mixing it up. All different stuff, but you're basically just moving it. You're really not working in pauses other than a quick stop just to kind of pull up slack on your line. But that's really what you're looking for. That's a great summer retrieve. But the rest of the time, a lot of pauses, a lot of sharp jerks, or a straight sweep, depending on super cold water. But for me, that's how I break it up. A sweep, if we're talking cold water, 45 degrees, 48 or below, a sweep is really good. From that 48 to say 62 range, That's when I like to do a traditional jerkbait style where it's a couple of jerks with a pause, couple of jerks, a pause, working an upward jerk at the same time. And then once the water's in that mid 60s or higher, you're talking post-spawn fish all the way through the summer. That's when I like to get crazy, keep your bait moving super fast, fish it the Kevin Van Dam style where it's just jerk, 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 you know, all the way back to the boat. Super simple stuff, very straightforward, but a jerkbait, guys, is no longer just a cold water bait. It is very much a year-round bait for all species of bass. So check out, you know, some of these. If you're looking for Berkeley Stunnas, I'll put a link in the description of the video. It's a great jerkbait. But in general, guys, just make sure you're throwing a jerkbait year-round. As you can see, it's starting to rain, so I'm going to head up to the house. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all of you. And stay tuned. We'll have another video coming out tomorrow. One more cast for good luck.